My father stood up at my sister's engagement party, raised his champagne glass in front of 50 people, looked directly at me, and said, "And you, Kate? Still throwing your life away on that poor farmer?" 50 people turned to look at me. And the man he was talking about, the one my parents had seated near the kitchen exit, the one they'd never once bothered to ask a single question about in 18 months, sat completely still beside me. What happened next is something those 50 people are never going to forget. Neither will my parents. My name is Kate Steele. I'm 27 years old. I'm a registered nurse. And for most of my life, I was the daughter my family forgot to be proud of. The Steele family has been practicing law since 1952. 3 generations. My grandfather opened the firm in Philadelphia with 1 office and a rotary phone. My father expanded it to 15 attorneys and a corner suite downtown. The waiting room has framed photographs of every Steele who ever wore the family name like armor. My grandfather in his pinstripe suit. My father holding his Harvard Law diploma. My sister Audrey at her Penn Law graduation, beaming between my parents like she'd just won a gold medal. I'm not in any of those photographs. Not because I disappeared. Not because I did something wrong. Because at 19, when I sat down at the dinner table and told my parents I wanted nursing school instead of law school, something shifted. My mother looked across at my father, pearl bracelet catching the light, and said, "Conrad, what will you tell the Caldwells?" My father didn't look up from his briefcase. "I'll tell them Kate is exploring options." Exploring options. That phrase followed me for 8 years. I graduated from nursing school at 23. First big family gathering after that, Thanksgiving. My Uncle Vincent asked about the girls. My father smiled, straightened his navy tie, and launched into a 5-minute breakdown of Audrey's trajectory toward junior partner. When Vincent turned to me, my father cut in. "She's in healthcare." Then he pivoted to a merger case like I'd ceased to exist. Last Thanksgiving, 2024, my mother set the table with her usual precision. Audrey's seat was directly across from my father. Linen napkin folded into a swan. Mine was in the corner near the kitchen door. Paper napkin. During dinner, my mother asked Audrey about the Whitmore case, leaning forward, genuinely interested. "Darling, tell us how you handled the cross-examination." Audrey talked for 15 minutes. My parents listened like she was delivering a TED Talk. Then my mother looked at me. "Kate, could you pass the salt?" That was my entire conversational contribution to Thanksgiving dinner. After dinner, I stood in the kitchen washing dishes, alone, as usual, and heard my mother's voice drift in from the living room. "You really make us proud, sweetheart. You know that, don't you?" I turned off the water. Stood there with soap suds dripping off my hands. Waited to hear if she'd say my name next. She didn't. The moment that made everything crystal clear happened 8 months ago. I won Nurse of the Year at Allegheny Regional Medical Center. One nurse. Out of 320 staff members. 12-hour night shifts. 60-hour weeks. Patients I couldn't save. Families who had nobody else in their corner. The ceremony was 1 hour on a Thursday evening. I sent the invitation to the family group chat 3 weeks in advance. My father replied, "Kate, I have obligations that night. You understand?" The next day, he attended a law firm gala where Audrey gave a speech on pro bono work. I saw the photos on his Facebook, him in his tuxedo, arm around my sister, beaming. At my ceremony, I stood on that stage alone. Held my plaque. Looked out at the seats I'd saved. Empty. I sent the photo to the family group chat. Nobody responded. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever. I kept that invitation on my refrigerator for 3 weeks. Cream-colored cardstock. Gold lettering. "Please join us in honoring Kate Steele." Every time I opened the fridge, I saw it. A reminder that even my best wasn't worth 1 hour of their time. So when people ask why I kept Owen separate from my family's world, the answer is simple. They never asked about him. I met Owen Hargrove 18 months ago at the Chester County Farmers Market. Late summer Saturday. I'd gone for tomatoes and bread and ended up standing at his booth for 20 minutes talking about the purpose of work. He sold organic beef from his family farm. 150 acres in rural Pennsylvania. For generations of Hargroves on the same land. His hands were calloused. His flannel shirt had a small tear near the collar. Most people ask what I do for money, he said, handing me a package of ground beef in brown paper. You asked what I do that matters. That's rare. I looked at the worn wooden sign on his table. Hargrove Family Farm, established 1924. I'm a nurse, I said. I get asked about my salary a lot too. Like that's the only thing that defines the job. You get it, he said. We exchanged numbers. Had our first real date 2 weeks later at a diner with pancakes the size of dinner plates. He told me about choosing the farm over a corporate job in Pittsburgh. About how his grandfather taught him that legacy isn't about money, it's about what you leave behind for the people who come after you. I told him about my family. The law firm dynasty. Feeling like a disappointment. Owen listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said something I've never forgotten. You don't have to explain them to me. I know what it's like to be measured by the wrong scale. Over 18 months, I noticed things about Owen that didn't quite add up. He was humble in a deliberate way. Drove a 10-year-old Ford pickup. Wore the same 3 flannel shirts. Lived in a small farmhouse with his border collie, Daisy. But there were inconsistencies. Once I saw an email notification on his phone, Grant Proposal Review, Hargrove Foundation Board Meeting. He shrugged it off. Old project. Nothing exciting. Another time, a brand new MacBook Pro on his kitchen counter. And the way he spoke, not just educated, but precise. Measured. Like someone who'd spent time in rooms where words carried real weight. I didn't push. Because honestly, I didn't care what Owen was hiding, if he was hiding anything. I cared that he saw me. When I talked about my worst shifts, the patients I couldn't save, he listened like it mattered. Like I mattered. My parents, meanwhile, never got past his job title. You're still dating that farmer? My mother asked in October. His name is Owen. Is it serious? It's been over a year, Mom. Silence. Well, you know best, I suppose. No follow-up. No curiosity. No interest in whether he was good to me. They saw Farmer and closed the file. When the invitation to Audrey's engagement party arrived, I already knew how it was going to go. Thick cardstock. Embossed lettering. Audrey had handwritten, "Hope you can make it, bring Owen." Like this was going to be fun. The family group chat told a different story. Mom, Kate, are you bringing a guest? Me, yes. Owen. Mom, I see. Please remind him about the dress code. Dad, cocktail attire. No exceptions. No hello. No how are you. Just rules. 10 days before the party, I stopped by their house to pick up a dress my mother had bought, something she thought would be more appropriate than my own choices. While she was upstairs, I stood in the living room. That's when I heard her voice from the kitchen. Door half open. About the 2 seats for Kate Steele and her guest, please place them at table 9, near the exit. No need for elaborate name cards. They won't be staying long anyway. I froze. And for the stage introductions, just focus on Audrey and Nolan. We don't need to complicate the narrative. We don't need to complicate the narrative. I stood there with my hand on the banister and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger. Not even hurt. Just clarity. They weren't disappointed in me. They were ashamed of me. And they were actively working to keep me out of the frame. My mother came downstairs smiling, holding a navy dress. Oh good, you're here. Try this on. I looked at her. At the pearl bracelet. At the smile that didn't reach her eyes. Table 9, I said. She blinked. What? You're seating us near the exit. I heard you on the phone. Her expression went blank. It's just logistics, sweetheart. I handed back the dress. I'll wear my own. And I left. That night Owen called from the farm. I told him everything. Do you want to skip it? He asked. No judgment. No, I said. I need to go. You don't have to prove anything to them. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm trying to say goodbye. Goodbye? To the version of myself that still hopes they'll change. Silence. Then we'll go together. The Greystone estate is the kind of place people rent when they want to make an impression. Stone facade. Manicured gardens. String quartet. 3-tier champagne tower. 50 guests under Edison bulb string lights. Owen and I arrived at 7. He wore a clean white button-down and dark slacks. I wore my navy dress. My parents stood near the entrance. My mother in a champagne gown. My father in a tailored suit. When they saw us, my mother's smile tightened. "Oh, you're here. Not, glad you came. Not, you look nice. Just, you're here." She looked at Owen. "And, Owen, correct?" Like she was reading his name off a tag. "Yes, ma'am." He extended his hand. She shook it briefly. Didn't meet his eyes. My father gave us one quick nod, then turned to the couple behind us with a completely different energy. "Walter, Eleanor, so glad you could make it." Judge Walter Sterling and his wife, Audrey's future in-laws. My father clapped the judge on the shoulder like an old friend. Owen and I walked past them. "Well," Owen said quietly. "That was welcoming." We found the seating chart. Table 1, Audrey, Nolan, Judge Sterling, my parents. Tables 2 through 7, attorneys, doctors, people my parents wanted to impress. Table 9, Kate Steele, Owen Hargrove. Near the exit. No floral centerpiece. Just a small candle and some greenery. Plain white name cards. At table 1, gold trim and calligraphy flourishes. Owen pulled out my chair. From where I sat I could see table 1 clearly. My parents laughing with Judge Sterling. Audrey and Nolan holding hands, glowing. My mother leaning in to say something to Eleanor Sterling, both of them laughing the way people laugh when they feel completely included. I looked down at my empty plate. "You okay?" Owen asked. I knew it would be like this. But knowing and seeing are different things. He took my hand under the table and squeezed once. Across the room, 2 men in suits glanced our way. "That's the younger daughter." I thought there was only Audrey. "No, there's 2. She took a different path. Nurse, I think. Dating a farmer." A pause. A small chuckle. Every family has one, I suppose. They turned away, sipping their champagne. Owen's hand tightened on mine. He'd heard it too. "Ignore them," I whispered. "I'm not the one they're dismissing," he said quietly. "I've had practice." The lights dimmed. The MC stepped up to the microphone. Introductions. Applause for my parents, their legacy, their excellence. Applause for Audrey, the pride of the Steele family. The pride. Singular. The MC didn't mention me. Then my father stood. Glass raised. Room hanging on every word. He talked about legacy. About Audrey always understanding what it meant to build something meaningful. His voice actually softened when he looked at her. "To our successful daughter. Our pride and joy." 50 glasses went up. And then his eyes slid to me. "I also want to acknowledge," he said slowly, "that every family is different. Every child chooses their own path." The room went noticeably quieter. My younger daughter, Kate, chose a different path. She's a nurse. A pause. A respectable profession, certainly. He let the word respectable hang in the air like a participation trophy. "She works hard. I'm sure she finds it fulfilling." Someone coughed. The sound echoed. "And Kate is in a relationship with a farmer, if I'm not mistaken." A few polite, nervous chuckles. "And you, Kate?" He looked directly at me. "Still throwing your life away on that poor farmer?" I didn't move, didn't flinch. Kept my fork in my hand and my face completely still. He turned back to the room without waiting for an answer. "Some paths lead to success." A pause. "And some paths lead to personal contentment." He smiled at me. The kind of smile designed to look like kindness but lands like pity. "Tonight, we celebrate the path of success. To Audrey, our pride and joy." 50 glasses. 50 people toasting. My sister's face was red, not from happiness. Nolan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. But my parents looked satisfied. Like they'd said exactly what they'd meant to say. One tear started to form. I blinked it away. "We can leave," Owen said. "No. I'm fine." I wasn't fine. But I was not going to give them the satisfaction of watching me break. I cut a piece of salmon. Put it in my mouth. Chewed. Swallowed. Then Owen set his napkin down and stood up. The table beside us went quiet. Then the next one. A ripple of silence spreading outward as 50 people noticed the man at table 9 calmly standing up in the middle of the party. My father frowned. Is there a problem? Owen didn't answer right away. He just stood there, hands at his sides, completely calm. And that's when Judge Walter Sterling's face went white. He stood up slowly from table 1, stepped away, walked toward us. And every eye in that room followed him. Owen Hargrove, the judge said, barely above a whisper. Is that you? Your Honor. Does the Foundation Board know you're attending public events again? Foundation Board. 2 words. Dropped into that room like a stone into still water. My mother stood. Walter, do you know this man? Judge Sterling turned to her. His tone was quiet. Sharp. Elaine, this is Owen Hargrove, chairman of the Hargrove Family Foundation, one of the largest charitable trusts in the Midwest. $1.6 billion in assets. 60 education programs across 18 states. Someone gasped at table 7. Owen and I have worked together for 6 years. I co-founded the foundation with his grandfather in 1998. My father had gone pale. I didn't know. No, the judge said flatly. You didn't ask. But he said he was a farmer. He is a farmer. Judge Sterling didn't blink. He runs the original Hargrove family farm. 4 generations. But he's also one of the most principled men I've ever worked with. He turned down 3 corporate board positions last year alone because he wanted to focus on rural education. A woman at table 4 spoke up. Hargrove Foundation, aren't they the ones who funded the Rural Nursing Scholarship Program? Among other things, the judge said. Last month, Owen committed $12 million to expand it. He looked at me. He believes nurses are the backbone of the healthcare system. Seems he sees value where others don't bother to look. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Owen, we had no idea, my father started. With respect, Mr. Steele, Owen said. Calm. Clear. I was never asked. In 18 months, no one in this family asked what I did, what I cared about, or who I was. You saw a farmer and decided that was all you needed to know. He let that settle. That says more about how you measure people than it does about me. Judge Sterling wasn't finished. 2 weeks ago, I invited Owen to sit on the Federal Court Advisory Council. He said no. He told me he wanted to stay focused on the Foundation's rural healthcare initiative instead. His expression hardened. The man has turned down more prestigious positions than most people will ever be offered. And you humiliated your own daughter, in front of 50 people, for loving him. My mother's hand went to her mouth. Audrey stood up, tears running down her face. Kate, I'm so sorry. Owen stepped forward and addressed the room. No performance. Just direct. I didn't come here to make a scene. I came because Kate asked me to. Because she's loyal, even to people who don't see her. He turned to my parents. You spent 18 months measuring me without asking one question. You decided I wasn't good enough based on my boots and my truck. That's your loss. But what you did to Kate, dismissing her work, her choices, her worth, that I can't sit down and ignore. She holds people's hands when they're dying. She advocates for families who have nobody else. She works 12-hour shifts and comes home exhausted and still finds the energy to care. And you reduced all of that to personal contentment. Like it was a failure. The silence stretched. Then I stood up. My legs were shaking. But I stood. You meant every word, I said. You've been saying it for 8 years. Maybe not out loud, but in every decision. Every time you seated me away from the important people. Every time you forgot to ask about my work. Every time you introduced Audrey first and paused before mentioning me like you were trying to remember if I existed. My mother's tears started falling. I'm not angry, I said. And I meant it. I'm just done. Done hoping you'll finally see me. Done shrinking myself to make you comfortable. I looked at Owen. He nodded. We're leaving. And we walked out. 50 people watched us go. Nobody tried to stop us. 3 days later, Audrey called. Nolan wanted to postpone the wedding. He told her he couldn't marry into a family that humiliates people that way, and that if my parents didn't make it right, he didn't want to be part of it. Judge Sterling had already called my father and withdrawn from their shared legal advisory board. Said he couldn't associate professionally with someone who lacked basic human decency. 2 of my father's clients had pulled their contracts, about $1.2 million a year in retainer fees. My mother had been quietly uninvited from the Alliance of Women in Law luncheon. I didn't ask for any of this, I told Audrey. I know. But it's happening because what they did was wrong, and people saw it. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I should have stood up for you a long time ago. I'm sorry. You're sorry now because there are consequences. Yes. But also because you were right. They've been awful to you. And I let it happen because it was easier than fighting them. I heard the truth in it. The real regret. If they want to talk, I said finally, they can call me. But I'm not making this easy. And I'm not pretending everything is fine just to make them comfortable. 2 days later, my mother called and asked me to come over. Do you want to talk because you understand what you did wrong, or because you're facing consequences? 10 seconds of silence. Both, she said. I'm not going to lie to you. But we've been talking, really talking, and we know we've failed you. I looked at Owen across my kitchen table. He raised his eyebrows. Your call. I'll come, I said. But this time, I speak and you listen. I drove over alone. This was something I needed to do without backup. My father was in the living room. Same framed photographs on the wall. 3 generations of steel lawyers. Still no photo of me. We sat down. Nobody spoke for a long moment. We didn't know, my father started. Didn't know Owen was someone important? He flinched. That's the problem. You measured him before you ever knew him. Just like you measured me. You never asked what he cared about. Whether he made me happy. You just saw farmer and filed it under failure. You're right, my mother said quietly. I've known it for 8 years. My father looked at me, really looked at me. I thought if I pushed you hard enough, you'd become the version of yourself I'd imagined. A lawyer. Part of the legacy. But I'm not a lawyer. No, he held my gaze. I'm sorry. Are you sorry because you lost clients or because you hurt me? Both, he said. I can't separate the two. But I am sorry for both. I nodded. Here's what's going to happen. If you want to fix this, family therapy. 8 weeks. 1 session a week. In the first session I'm going to talk about 27 years of feeling invisible. And you're going to sit there and listen. No interruptions. No, we didn't mean it that way. Just listen. If you can't commit to that, we're done. I'll be polite at family events, I'll send birthday cards, but that's all we'll ever be. We'll do it, my mother said immediately. Whatever it takes. I looked at Audrey. And you need to figure out who you are outside of their expectations. You've spent 30 years being the perfect daughter. I'm not sure you even know what you actually want. She nodded. I know. I stood up. I'll see you next week. The therapist is Dr. Foster. I already booked it. I walked to the door. Kate, my father called. I turned. I'm proud of you, he said. I should have said that a long time ago. But I'm saying it now. I nodded. And left. Owen was waiting in his truck. How do you feel? He asked. Free, I said. For the first time in my life, I actually feel free. He smiled and started the engine. My parents and I are in therapy. Some weeks are hard. Some weeks we make real progress. I don't know if we'll ever have the relationship I once wanted, but I've learned that wanting something doesn't mean I'm owed it. Audrey postponed the wedding. She and Nolan are working through what it means to build something real instead of something that just looks good. And Owen is still Owen. Still farming. Still running the foundation. Still refusing to let money define a single thing about who he is. He asked me recently, do you regret going to that party? I thought about it. The toast. The empty seats at my ceremony. 8 years of paper napkins and passing the salt. No, I said. Because it forced the truth into the open. And sometimes that's the only way anything actually changes. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, not because you did something wrong, but because you chose something different, hear this. Your worth is not up for debate. It just is. Thanks for listening, and if this story hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your value in a world that keeps measuring the wrong things. The people who truly see you don't need convincing, and the ones who need convincing will never see you until you stop waiting for their permission to be enough.